I have to start from my student days, the biggest joke is many people feel that I am not the same, Prasanth. There was a time when my teachers used to call me Ashant,
Ashant.
right? Even today, TV is very vital. So nobody should live, there is no way that you can write off TV.
You mentioned CTV fast and, gaining traction hugely. How will programmatic advertising evolve to support these shifts and what role will the broadcasters play?
From a shape of, growth, as I said, SMB business, it's not just only, you've seen how print has come back.
Yeah,
the shape of growth has been slightly different and they have attracted a lot of SMB clients. Traditional media versus digital, I think, the more we are able to come with solves for marketers to find, their task getting solved, I think traditional media will certainly find, a larger growth.
What's your top advice for CMOs, advertisers, broadcasters, given the rapid shifts in consumer behavior and the way tech, etc., is also shaping the consumer connects with brands? So, PK, what makes you proud that you're part of GroupM? Hello and welcome to MVP, the Master's Voice podcast from MediaBrief.com, the award-winning series. I am your host and friend Pavan R Chawla, and in every episode, I bring respected industry experts. Today, I am privileged to welcome a very respected thought leader, industry stalwart, and enabler, Prasanth Kumar, a CEO of GroupM South Asia, PK as he is fondly called, and as we all know, is somebody who's a visionary leader who has been empowering and helping grow the entire future and shaping the future of media investment and marketing overall, not just in India, but across the world. So, PK, thank you for your time and welcome to the episode.
Many thanks, Pawan. This is something which I have been looking forward to. We have been trying to catch up for a long time, but great that it's happening now.
What you said really impromptu feeds into something I'm going to say now.
Okay.
So, PK, thanks, of course, to you for your time. And PK, I have to read this. So, thanks also to Neeta Dadani, Prasid Prasad, Nikita Jain, and Rashmi Nakaskar of GroupM, and Pranali Gandhi and Yadu Krishna of Burson for having facilitated this shoot. Like you said, and I say, it needs a village to get your time, PK.
No.
So, very happy and very grateful that you're here. Let's begin our conversation. I'm really looking forward.
Great.
And I'm prepared, as you know.
Fantastic.
So, PK, you've had a long and illustrious career, wonderful journey so far. And for our younger audiences, just walk them through, let's say, your journey from the days when you were a student to where you find yourself today. And what have been your biggest learnings, 2 or 3 so far?
If I have to start from my student days, the biggest joke is many people feel that I am not the same, Prasanth. There was a time when my teachers used to call me Ashant.
Ashant.
Right. I used to be quite a naughty and mischievous boy. But at the same time, I think I was blessed with a lot of great friends. Completely fortunate to have fantastic teachers right from my child. My mother was a teacher herself. And of course, the values that my family, my father and my brothers, have been, from those days, and giving me a kind of a trigger to, to be more curious, to learn more, to do always the best. Of course, our family is also into sports, and that, made me also get into sports in a wider manner. Obviously, in sports, you get competitive, right? So all these values come into you, right? But the factor of reverence is a very important factor when you shape yourself from those days, because when you learn and when you want to learn, I think you have to, get prepared to learn, as well as you have to be really putting that effort. I think the value of putting efforts, and then looking at your success as a derivative is a different, distinctive way of looking at things. I think the
Wonderful.
more you put efforts, you will get there, right? So the focus of putting efforts was a combined aspect of value which you imbibe from your school, with your friends, with your family, and of course I was also lucky that my wife, she's a great friend of mine,
Wonderful.
and we met actually when we were studying, right? So she has been all along in my life, and we share same ethos and same values from that context. So there's somebody to always keep your check.
Wonderful.
So I think it's so the factor of being curious to get more exposed, to get the learning continuous, being a highly aspect of giving reverence and having that form of gratitude is a major aspect when you want to shape yourself in the beginning of any career of your life, right?
So your graduation or post graduation, what was that in, and then how did you get into the marketing space, the media buying space?
Yeah, so I'm very thankful to my eldest brother. He's much elder to me. He's like my father, but like 13 years elder, obviously. So he used to be in the advertising industry. And when I was a kid, I used to see, the creativity and different aspects which he does. So it was inspirational. I used to be in Kendriya Vidyalaya, KV.
Same
So I'm
school.
a KV product, right? And very proud of that. Right?
Yes, I was too.
Okay, great. So KV gives you that, shaping of,
very much.
studying as well as
It
being
keeps you grounded also.
completely. I did my graduation in maths, right? Maths again is a subject which came to me not just through my own interest, but I think my friends, my teachers, and my family all put together, right? And it came on, right? So it was useful, and I was lucky to go to Chennai, Madras, and study MBA again with my friends in the Madras University. So all of this came as a full package, and it was very, obviously a great journey in how we could get the learning experience as well
Correct.
as exploratory from that context.
So when did you get into GroupM and what did you do before that? All the years.
So I was lucky again. I was a trainee, in Pepsi. Then I was in Hindu for some time, and then I came to Bombay. I even when I was a student, I used to come and spend a month in Bombay. With my brother and my relatives here, and I used to get trained for tennis and all. So Bombay was a very interesting aspect for me in my life. I always wanted to be. Then I joined Hindu here, and then I was in Rediff almost 5 years.
5 years.
And then I was there for a very brief time in McCann with Mr. Prabhu. And then Srini called me, and then I joined in Bangalore. That was in 2004. And I've been here,
20 years.
almost in 21 now.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. When you entered GroupM, what was it about the work culture that helped you grow and become an even better person and professional? The GroupM work culture.
I think GroupM has always been, again, blessed with some fantastic leaders. Right? We had Andre Nair, we had Ashu, we had Vikram, we had Srini, Lakshmi, right? And many more. When I joined during that time. Anil George was there, right? Ruby Bana, a lot of people. I joined in Bangalore. Similarly, Hiren Pandit in Bombay and so on. Sukku, right? I can go on and on. I think we were all wanting to grow together. I think the collective growth and collaborative growth is a factor and value that you imbibe, when you join GroupM itself. And one of the most important factor is that, how do you provide that opportunity for everybody to grow?
Correct.
And so people were quite happy to make everybody explore whatever they want to do. So you never had any restrictive aspects, right? You could do whatever you want, you could try, and always customer focused, right? So you want to do something innovative, what's it solving? And you continue to discuss while we may have some of our own fun, and we may have a couple of beers, but the discussions were so much enriching that I always remember that I used to look forward to it, where we get together and we jam on different ideas. What do we do next? What do we do more?
Wow.
It was never a stress,
Lovely.
right? And that helped a great bunch of people to come into the organization.
Right.
And I don't think there was anything stopping us to, really add value to the journey for not just yourself but your colleague, right? So it
Absolutely.
was a collective effort on that.
In fact, I wanted to ask you also what have been the constants in the Group M culture so far. But having seen Group M and all the people here and the way you guys work, I think you just answered my question, and I
Yeah,
see the same thing continuing and perhaps evolving into better levels
yeah, definitely.
because
I
that
mean,
client focus is even sharper.
correct. So I'm quite again happy and delighted that we have had our own people growing in our own system. And of course, some of our ex-colleagues now, they have tried to, explore many things beyond group, which again, it's great to see as many of them are leaders of the industry,
Wonderful.
right, in multiple facets. So, and when we meet up, even today, oh, it's celebration, right? We exchange those memories, but not just those memories. We even now push each other. What do we do next?
And that collaborative thing that you actually are always at the center of, really, I see you at all the industry bodies and seminars, and even I'm sure the government and private enterprise kind of, getting together, the huddles.
Yeah.
I think the hustle that is ever ongoing to empower and, improve the
Yeah.
marketing space, you're always at the center of it. And I think it all stems from these long associations, these long relationships that are
Definitely,
mutually
and
professionally
even I mean,
respectful.
all of my bosses, Srini, Vikram, everybody, Ashu, all of them,
Yeah.
they are all told that being a leader comes with a very large responsibility on your shoulder. So you have to be at the front, and you need to ensure that this journey is going only stronger, right? So it's great. We're lucky, we're blessed in that context.
Let's now, from your very enriching and very interesting and informative insights about the building blocks that have created and made Prasanth Kumar, or PK as he's fondly known, what he is today. From there, let's come on to the industry. And one report that I dare say everybody in the industry looks forward to, waits for, is the this year, next year,
Yeah,
TYNY
yeah,
2025. And
yeah,
only about maybe a couple of weeks back, we were there when you unveiled it, and your
yeah,
entire team had this wonderful discussion and more that we covered on
yeah.
MediaBrief. I still want you to give us, because I'm not going to ask you as somebody who heads so many things and who can write a book on every aspect, So what I want to ask you is, give me from your perspective as the CEO of, GroupM South Asia, what are the key takeaways from this year, next year, 2025, how is India's growth trajectory different from, or how has it been maybe perhaps better than the rest of the world in some areas? So just give us your
Yeah,
overview, which will be helpful.
so I'll make it very, brief, but quite informative on this perspective. So see, look, we are estimating a growth of 7% for 2025, and this is on top of an 8.8% growth of 2024, right?
Correct.
And it is again on top of a larger growth in 2022 and 21, and 2020 was pandemic for all, right?
Correct.
So post pandemic, I think we had a great situation, and I think globally, I think a lot of addicts grew post pandemic, but India's pace of growth was much larger.
Right.
And it's also true because the composition of growth came from the source of many startup companies and many VCs investing onto it and so on, right? But by end of 2022, or let's say the last quarter of 2022, I think there were rejigs on the composition of money, and startup and VCs slowed down the spending, and
Yes.
now so that's something which is gone out, and it's quite difficult to substitute, right? So that's why you see a single digit growth, in both the years from that context. Is one of them. The other one also is from the context of how the entire long tail and the SMB business is shaping up in the market. I think they had a good growth in the last few years, especially, and especially because digital taking a larger share of that, from that context, and that's also been adding on to the overall ADEX for this market, right? So when I say we're estimating 7, we are also estimating a double-digit growth on digital, right? And we look at TV collectively with streaming, it's almost flat, from that context. But print is growing. Now, when I look at each respective medium and compare it to the global growth with respect to each of the medium, I think the good factor is that we are slightly better than the global growth on each of the medium, right? It's only that we're estimating 60% of the market to be digital, whereas globally it is about 80%, right? And that's why slightly, like last year, global growth is slightly more. Right? Now that is one part. And the other part, I think there are obviously a lot of challenges which is seeing in the different categories, right? So we have categories like realty, education, BFSI, telco, technology, SMB businesses growing. It's almost like they all contribute about 60 odd percentage of the overall advertising from a category perspective, and they're growing at about 10%, right? But we do have larger categories like CPG and so on, which is currently growing in much lesser single digit, right?
Okay.
And that's how the overall, 7% as an estimation.
So what is the total ADEX? About
In terms of the absolute value, that's roughly 1,67,000,
Correct.
crores is the total ADEX which is there.
Right.
And as I said, a good 60% is thanks to digital. And I also feel that, some of these initiatives done by the government and multiple aspects could probably give a boost in second half also, because we have the tax benefits and therefore it should help the consumption get better.
Right.
So these are again now, we update this on a quarterly basis and we publish it once in 6 months, right? So we do take that, we do measure it. I mean, nobody's an astrologer, but to keep the track, right, on how is it going.
A lot of trends were shared, real interesting ones. I mean, we could do a book on those trends. But which will be the most important ones in your view?
Yeah, I think we covered almost like 10 trends.
Yes. And the last one was about measurements. But still, let's talk about the 1 to 9. Whichever ones are important to you.
Yeah,
Because
so
everyone
even,
is.
even if I have to start with measurement, I think it's something that is very clear in measurement scheme.
Absolutely.
I think more and more it has to be from an integrated perspective.
Correct.
Right. And I have a feeling that, I think every advertiser is spending not just large money, any amount of money is looking at from an integrated perspective. And I think a lot of it also comes from the self perspective of how it can be measured.
Correct.
But I think it will get more and more, even traditional aspects like Triple M, with the new data-led, frameworks and analytics that is helping, both will have a role in getting the integrated measurement framework done. So that's something which will definitely come, right? And we are seeing many clients, even trying to practice that and getting it, right? So as an industry also, I think it will get more and more, pushed to do that. So that apart. I think we covered, when we covered all the trends.
One thing that wove through the entire thing like one string across all the pearls is AI, generative AI.
That's right.
It's
That's
like
right.
the fulcrum of everything today.
That's right. So technology has a lot of things to play in it. We talked about AI, we talked about Gen AI and how it
Gen
is
AI.
really changing the shape, and even from an SEO perspective to GEO, right?
Yes.
But I think, if I were to look at 2 or 3, real trends which will really expand. One is in the area of commerce, right? I think there is a marketplace which is getting phased up and it will only getting accelerated. I think with the quick commerce coming in, it will only get accelerated more, right? How we use that, because also it comes to the entire transaction increasing. Today is a time when you see each transaction point also becoming a point for media. It's like each media point can become a transaction point.
Correct.
It's vice versa also.
Correct.
Right? So that's something which I think is going to, expand more. So that's one. I think from a second perspective, as I said, technology will play a very large role in shaping our own industry and how it can be a great utility for marketers to expand themselves and grow, right? So from the solve to a tool to tracking to making real-time insights and therefore deploying all of this, the technology will start coming up and it will shape the industry in a much larger form, right?
Absolutely. Another couple of questions on TYNY, like digital versus traditional media. Where is the growth? With digital advertising now a dominant force, where and how do you see traditional media sort of fitting into the whole ecosystem and contributing to or getting a share that could hopefully be a little bigger? Because, FM radio is going down, but movies are likely to go up. And print also, I mean, there are, two different sides that say the larger English publications are growing, but across, the back kind of markets
Yeah.
or backyards, it's not so good. So how do you see media vehicles like or media types like print and radio in this ecosystem or traditional media with digital, hopefully we think it'll go up to 70-75% soon from the 60, and it's still languishing 20 percentage points behind
Yeah.
globally. So traditional.
So what is interesting is that, see, while the mix is saying 60% on digital, you should also see that as traditional media, there is also progress being done.
Correct.
But it's not probably equal to the kind of pace of growth that digital has.
Right.
And, so therefore, what it means is that the more AdX growth, the highest share of the growth is probably taken by digital.
Correct.
So therefore, the question for traditional media should be, how can I get a much higher share of each incremental, dollar or, that is coming on to AdX. Right.
And I see a lot of print and radio kind of publications or houses respectively doing a great deal on digital. So if the number 2 pink paper of Mumbai, I won't name it, has a readership of 25 to 50,000, that's it, or maybe circulation. But on digital, on social, it has huge reach. So that's what kind of is perhaps sold together, do you think? Will that also help if they get
integrated selling can definitely help. So even today, TV is very vital. So nobody should, there is no way that you can write off TV.
correct. Oh, absolutely not.
See, we are a country, at the same time, we are a collective country, right? We have multiple Indias within this country. We have different tradition, different culture, different language. So there is a need for different consumption patterns, right? And also, what is important, significance of larger format like TV screens, and that's why you see CTV actually making an impact on it. Right now, that is a very significant factor, and in that context, it also gives an ability to target certain cohorts in your consumer space. When I talk about CTV or fast channels from that context, and your ability of data to really absorb that and give that option for marketers to look at some of the premium audiences and so on, right? And coming back to traditional media versus digital, I think the more we are able to come with solves for marketers to find their task getting solved, I think traditional media will certainly find a larger growth. Also from a shape of growth, as I said, SMB business, it's not just only, you've seen how print has come back. The shape of growth has been slightly different, and they have attracted a lot of SMB clients. So that's again a great factor.
Right. You mentioned CTV fast and gaining traction hugely. How will programmatic advertising evolve to support these shifts, and what role will the broadcasters play?
No, so the fact is that broadcasters definitely plays a larger role from the context of the content aspect, right? And yes, it is programmatic, right? And it helps in a lot more, efficacy in the ability to from each insights being used into deployment, right? So
Right.
that's what our programmatic does, right,
Right.
from that context. Now, I have a feeling that, TV and CTV should be, should be done from an integrated perspective, right? And I wish every broadcaster is able to think in that context, right? And therefore, it enables them to plan themselves better, right? Look at how each advertiser is able to tap into different types of cohorts, right? It could be premium cohort versus a mass cohort, or it could be from a category perspective, right? Or from a different, audience perspective. So all that is doable, in this context. So I think broadcasters will see this as an opportunity and try and see from a larger perspective how they can utilize this, right?
Let's talk about AI, data, and personalization. Growing hugely. AI driven data analytics are growing a lot. So, how is GroupM leveraging AI for hyper personalization
Yeah. So
of marketing in India?
true. So we have multi campaigns which are definitely demonstrating or rather utilizing this hyper personalization as a mechanism. You would have seen many of the Mondelez campaigns or Unilever campaigns specifically using all of that, right? I mean, there are many in that context. But I think a lot more integration with ability to get the consumer understanding better and therefore insights and the taste. And multiple tools, which is also AI led, and working with different partners on that, and ability to also deploy back into a very micro aspects of each geography or a cohort is being done right now, and we are able to do that, right? That is definitely also giving an opportunity to serve the right content to the right people, right?
It's like customization of one that happens on OTT, for instance.
That's right. So there is personalization and there is customization, right? Personalization is to the individual, customization to a segment of people. So both you are able to look at it, right? And the more you are able to go deeper, and which means you need even more better insights on that. So if it is pin code level or if it is a tile level, right? So these are all aspects which
Correct.
what we do is we challenge ourselves to get better and more, and we are so delighted and we are so fortunate that every partner is able to come and share different perspective of how it can be better, right? So that's a great perspective to look at, and therefore if there is a utility to strengthen the solve for our clients and customers, it's a great stuff.
Oh, that's lovely. PK, I see you, you meaning Group M in India, like the spider in the center of the web, okay? And there are hundreds of clients, hundreds and more of learnings from each on how you responded to a situation or a challenge or delivered on an objective, and what were the learnings, what should and what should not be done, the how to, how not to kind of little handbook keeps getting evolved
Yeah.
every time on every situation, like a little case study, as it were. Now, you have the benefit of this learning from multiple situations, right? Do you also practice, I hope you do, the exchange of or the enabling of exchange of information without obviously compromising any client's privacy or confidentiality, because there is a lot of information that can be shared. You can actually empower the, I think around, if I'm not mistaken, at least 30 to 32% of India's biggest corporates and the biggest advertisers are sort of dependent upon you, and they work with you and they look up to you. They are your clients. So that's a huge sort of part of the media expenditures that go through you
Yeah.
guys.
So I'll
So
tell you.
do you also share that information
Yeah. So we
on
are again.
learnings?
Yeah.
Have
Say,
a system in place, or I mean, that could be a huge draw for others who say, I want to go and tie up with these guys and learn more about what's
so
happening.
again, we're quite lucky that a lot of large clients and small clients and medium clients work with us, right? And we are also fortunate that we work across different categories, and we have close to about 8 offices in the country, right? So this is also because there is talent across the country. right? It's definitely true that, one thing which we do is, the integrity of data is very important, right?
Yes.
And so there are some principles, there are some things which is written in the bone marrow, not even in the blood.
The
That these
DNA.
are principles of how you have on for your customer,
Sure.
yourself, and your organization, and the value is so much inscribed in that, right? For everyone. So we make sure that we work for each of the customers in the best form, right? But at the same time, it's also important that while we are curious and while we are the experts, so we should lead our customers,
Yeah.
right? And therefore, you have to get indulged into many things that you want to learn, and therefore the continuous learning happens, and that becomes a part of the wisdom. So we are quite again blessed with the larger collective wisdom, right? Now, application of wisdom on different contexts become useful, right? I think that's why we secure an army of leadership and not only depend on one or two, because that's important for us to serve the kind of customer size that we're doing, right? And while we do this, the other aspect that we do is we have to be exploratory. And therefore, you should work along with the partners as well. And you should work closely with them to create best of the solution for your customers, right? You should probably, so many times when you talk to your partners, you get more enriched with what's going on. And most of the partners, they themselves are brands, right? The largest brands, in some of the markets are the media brands itself, right?
Tremendous legacy also.
Yes.
Rich
And therefore,
experience.
what they learn from the consumers, what they learn from their taste, etc. This is an exchange, and we do this in a continuous manner to work along with the partners to get the best solve to our advertisers.
Perhaps. And informally, without sacrificing any confidentiality, also empower the others with your
Definitely.
insights. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. So retail media and commerce-led advertising booming.
Yeah.
I want to know how your view on how India's retail media and commerce-led advertising space is shaping up. What potential does it hold for brands?
Yeah, so it's an interesting aspect because it plays differently for different categories, right? And if there are categories where the retail media plays along with modern trade even 50% plus, right, in terms of today's contribution, right?
Okay.
At the same time, there are categories where they play only 5% or 7%, for example.
You want to name the?
No, these are large categories. So wherever mass and wherever high value, you can shift it in that form, right?
Correct.
But, being such a diverse country with convenience becoming more and more,
Easily available.
leveraged as a business transaction point itself. Still we are diverse, right? So I think there will be progress on both sides, but at the same time, it is also basis the behavioral pattern that is happening or evolving with the cohorts, right? So we are a nation with a larger composition of youth, right? And they will also define some of the behavioral pattern, right, on the context of how the buying behavior happens, right, and how therefore retail media plays, right. So this is a wait and watch. I think it's a country where you will have diversities for sure, and retail media will keep on innovating and evolving in the space.
It was one of the top 9-10 trends,
right,
and
right.
a lot was spoken about it. So where do you expect it to go? By what percentage do you expect it to grow?
No, so
Like you said, we're not fortune tellers, but still.
No, but I think any reasonable double-digit growth is something which you can definitely expect there, right? And it's also a solve where we want to learn from. So there will be a lot of experimentation done on this, right? So these are again things which every category would like to experiment and try and learn and use it and reuse it and so on, right? So today there is the retail media shaping up in a big form, right? You also have search coming onto that.
Correct.
You have
Correct.
multiple video options coming onto that. Different content-based aspects which can be done, right? And it will only expand more, right? And it can be real time. So imagine a situation where awareness and intent data both comes onto that. The power is really much larger, right?
Sure. ad waste and fraud. GroupM's role in protecting or shielding or helping clients, in the sense that these two malaces, these huge problems, no agency, no industry body has ever been able to solve so far, despite their best efforts. I'm not saying anybody is lagging behind or something, but everybody does try to do more, right? So, my simple open ended question to you is, how does GroupM help its partner clients combat these challenges? I'm not saying completely overcome or defeat it. I don't
Yeah,
know if that's
I think there
possible.
are best practices which you have put.
Tell
And
me.
it comprises about certain policies we imbibe, like who we work with, right? Which are the partners, which are the vehicles that you work with. There are certain guidelines that we look at. I think it's important to continuously work with each partner, educate them, align them, help them to be where we want it to be. And I think that's something which you take it as a responsibility and work with them. A lot of AI tools, a lot of technology built tools helps us to keep it at the bay on that, right? Constant tracking and monitoring of the same goes through, right? And it's a continuous thing because it is an evolving space, so we have to be at it, right? There are multiple ways, newer aspects come in. But we have to be at it.
This is just, it has to be a continuous
That's right.
process,
Yeah.
and you have your blinkers on in terms of policy and practices, and
That's right.
and the integrity with which you work. Okay, let me ask you, and I'm curious about this on a personal level also, because I was thinking the other day that, you know, I've grown up with television, print, all the traditional mediums or media. I can't seem to think of, I asked myself, is there one great big solid brand that was built in India or has been built in India? I'm not talking about startups which may be constructed by the budgets, etc., or they may not have the need to go to the whole world, and it's not when you look at India as a huge diverse country. So, do you remember any big brand in India that may have been built only on YouTube and not on traditional media?
No, so let me put it this way. I mean, there are brands like Mama Earth and so on.
Like Mama Earth,
Yeah, and there are many other, beauty products as well as categories like food, right? And there are also brands like personalities.
Like?
Personalities.
Okay.
I mean, it applies to them as well, right? I think there are singers, there are different influencers, right, who have been built thoroughly from leveraging these mediums, right? So yeah, it's great to see that. I think YouTube has given a larger presence in the market with a lot more consumption happening there, and anybody, any brand, any product, or any individual or a personal leveraging that gets an advantage to do it, right? So we look at it from that context.
Correct. Like you said earlier in the course of our conversation, that TV is not going away anywhere for a long time, and I absolutely agree with you there. And so will not the other forms of traditional media, because their reach, their loyalty, if you will, is there, which has been built over years. Movie watching with a family is a habit once a week or once a month. It's like a celebration. So, right, they will grow together. Tell me about media agency evolution. What's next for GroupM? How do you see GroupM's role evolving in India's fast-changing media and marketing ecosystem? What's your vision for the next phase? I think the guardrails are set by the 9 or 10 trends that you mentioned for sure in terms of doing the business, but in terms of looking at it as a visionary overview, which looks at the strategy, the need to empower, and how to do it well. Your
No,
thoughts?
see, for us, everything begins with what our customer needs are, right? I think always when you want to strengthen your journey and when you want to really see how you have to get paced, it's always need driven, right? I think great ideas come from there, great strategies come from there. I think so. Everything that we do will come from how do we help our customers grow, right? How do we help solve our customers on some of the tasks that they have?
Right.
Because one thing is for sure, the landscape is fast evolving. So therefore, we have to be at it. right?
In terms of the kind of talent you get, because everything is becoming so tech and AI and code and everything else sort of skewed,
Yeah.
is that going to be something where,
Definitely.
you know,
So, as I said, so for all these needs, you need great talent, as you mentioned. You need the great instinct of problem solving as thinking as as a requirement. You need to invest into technology and therefore really make yourself more agile and more real time and more productive from that context.
that's what you've been doing all your years in any case.
That's right. As well as you have to find that collaborative quotient to get more and more progressive, which is from with working along with your partners. And the partners is not just media. Partners are with technology, partners are with data, partners with content, with influencers, and so on. I mean, they're like,
And the clients who empower you to take the best decisions
I
for
know,
them.
so customer focus comes from there, and the
Correct.
and therefore there's a lot of empowerment given, and therefore we, many times we get pushed by our customers to even try, push yourself to even try more, right? So these are again space earned with a lot of decades of working along with them, right?
Correct. What's your top advice for CMOs, advertisers, broadcasters, given the rapid shifts in consumer behavior and the way tech, etc., is also shaping the consumer connects with brands? What's your top advice?
First of all, I would say that resilience is an important factor. See, this is no advice for eternity. If you would ask me for a kind of a 2 to 3 year period, resilience is important, right? It's a never normal state. We have to, be observant and we have to fast learn on it. I think it's important to be always at a continuous learning aspect, right?
Wonderful.
And let's use the collective power to get the solves which will make the task getting solved, right, from that context. And therefore it is very important to get the culture of collaborative influence in the entire
Excellent.
journey.
The culture of collaborative influence. I think it really dovetails into that, doesn't it?
That's
Everything.
yes.
Prepare for that and then deliver through that.
Exactly.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
so having a growth mindset with both these aspects can be a great.
Wonderful. So youngster comes to you and HR has checked all the boxes. Yeah. Good. Okay, fine. It may be an entry level job or it may obviously be something at a senior level job. Everything else is fine. But what are the deal breakers? If he or she doesn't have something or has a trait that, what do you expect from any individual? I mean, you get into a huge entity like GroupM, which is a vast culture and work ecosystem based on, like you said, collaborative influence and collaborative
I think
enhancement.
Yeah, so I'll tell you.
That will take care of the individual.
See, for us, integrity
Integrity.
is the most important factor.
Okay.
And integrity has a lot of meaning. And it applies to integrity on A, integrity on B, integrity on C, multiple things. Integrity with your organization, very, very critical. Integrity with yourself, right? On how your professional standards are is an important factor.
Wonderful.
Right?
Great advice.
I think integrity of the aspect that you will be a self-evangelist of all these values is itself a great aspect that we look forward to. Right? So these are very, very core values. Of course, it comes along with multiple other values that we practice. So collaboration, I said. I think relentless excellence is another one that we want to look at.
Resilience.
Right. So these are all key points. Yeah.
Excellent. So, PK, what makes you proud that you're part of GroupM?
Definitely, I walk tall. So I'm
Wonderful.
I'm so lucky. I'm blessed with the fact that I've almost like 21 years, as I mentioned to you, been part of the organization. And it's a team that you work with, right? And I always tell my team that, maybe after a few years, maybe you're not here or maybe I'm not here. But the fact is that it is that team then which makes you even more prouder. So that we can tell our grandchildren or children that, this is the organization we used to work for, right? And so everybody looks for that. So I really apply this to the team, right? The team, when I joined to the team that I'm working with right now, it's been a fantastic journey, and it's a collective effort that whatever we were able to do. So we're never complacent on that.
Also, the impact that GroupM has as an entity in India, if you look at the ADEX, the ecosystem, the amount of contributions it makes, how it empowers brands to add to India's economy. I mean, it's a huge contribution that you make.
Yeah. So
You want to quantify that a little bit?
oh, I think we look at it from the context of, where and all we can work along, right? To which all categories can we stretch ourselves, to which all players we can stretch us. I think it's also not just working as a business, it's also about learning and reapplying and so
It's your
on.
beliefs and values
Yeah.
also.
So I think that way we enjoy doing that, right?
Wonderful. If I were to ask you, PK, to count 3 people, enablers, empowerers, evangelists, people who empowered the media buying, marketing ecosystem in India, abroad, over the years, decades, what 3 names would you want to mention?
There are many names, but I'm not so sure if I'm able to place, 3 particular names, because at each phase, everybody has been a.
So just remember the ones that who come to your mind.
No, there are many of them. Some of them are in the CPG world. Some of them are the creative side, right? A lot of creative, like Piyush is one of them.
Piyush, yes.
Right.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think definitely inspiring,
Very much.
right?
Oh, I would take Prasoon's name in the same breath. I love the ads he makes.
Yeah, I have seen stages where, see, Prasoon does ads. Prasoon's hobby is also writing.
Both the Prasoons.
Yeah, but the hobby is also into writing.
Yeah.
Right. So, which becomes also strong, like any other creative person, right? So I see a lot of value coming from there. I've been blessed with people like Srini, people like Ashu, right? I've also worked with Vikram,
Vikram, oh yes.
and
Sam, of course.
Sam, of course, right? I have not been lucky to work with him in an office,
Yeah,
in a company person, but I worked with him in multiple boards and multiple, bodies and so on. But all of them comes with this committed discipline.
Yes.
Right. And it's not just for individual perspective. It's about, as I said, the standards of themselves, right? And with the quest of whatever they want to solve, they're in it 100%. So that's very inspiring.
Wonderful.
Right.
Wonderful.
So there are many, and globally when I look at it also, many of the bosses, right? Including many of the marketers itself, right? So there are many, I mean.
You can't be picking one of your hundreds of clients.
Yeah, it's not just that. I think they all keep on inspiring. I get inspired by even sportsmen and sportswomen, right? So I think a lot of it comes in that corner.
Understood. What are some bad recommendations you hear most in your line of expertise or in your industry from people? Bad recommendations.
No, I think I don't think anything specifically bad, but I would say that
maybe
we should not be gatekeepers of ourselves.
Wonderful.
Right. We should
don't be gatekeepers of ourselves.
Yeah. Yes. We should allow ourselves to think openly. Don't be restrictive. Yeah. I mean, you will find your own pattern and discipline in that journey. The more you feel that, no, it's all, walled. No, you don't go there. I mean, I can't go that side. Those aspects to me, makes it more restrictive. Right. So,
okay. Okay. Which book have you gifted most to people you like?
Oh, I'm quite bad at this. I'll be quite candid about this. I like being read rather than reading myself. But my eldest brother Pradeep, he gives it to me, a lot of gifts from books.
Okay.
I got my second son now doing a lot more. My wife does more. I've got many of my colleagues actually giving, different quotes from different books which inspires you, right?
Wonderful.
I treat every single industry colleague as a book,
Wonderful.
right? Frankly, many of the things that you're doing today is not something as part of the syllabus in a educational institution. Actually, most of it is part of things which you are learning on a day-to-day basis when you meet people, and they are a book by themselves, right? So I'm quite observant on that, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I have gifted books, but more than anything else, I feel the aspect of learning in practice when you meet people, when you know them, when you explore different ideas, exchange different thoughts, they become part of you, and they help you mold yourself. And I got a colleague, Kishan, right? He's in Kerala. He's another person, who helps with different inspirational aspects on time-to-time basis, right? So, likewise, many of my colleagues, many of my friends, right, who have always done it. So I look forward to them. More.
Lovely. Okay, after all these beautiful positive thoughts, one question about any one trait in any professional that you encounter, that trait which is completely unacceptable to you. You cannot tolerate that trait in the workplace. What would it be?
As I told you, if there is somebody who is not following integrity, I have a serious problem with that.
Wow, PK, thanks ever so much. I really enjoyed our conversation. A lot of insights, and obviously, I mean, we could have gone on, and this could have been a 6-hour marathon, and you would still have so much more to say, of course. But thank you very much
No,
for the
thanks to
wonderful
you.
conversation.
Thanks to you. And
What did you think of our chat?
no, Pawan, so let me be frank. I think, first of all, apologies, for delaying this. Let me tell you, personally, I find a way to, share things with a lot of. So I really found today to be a good catch up. Right.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best. Right. It is always pleasure talking to you, Pawan. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a guide and an inspiration source, not just for me, but for the entire industry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So that was this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast. Very, very happy, very grateful and delighted that it was with Prasanth Kumar, fondly known as PK, the Group CEO South Asia of GroupM. Till we meet again in the next episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast, this is your host and friend Pavan R Chawla saying, take care, stay safe, bye-bye.